this is a good opportunity to share with our new listeners a perspective that you may not have heard before. And all I'm saying is, hey, look, but before you, a lot of times we have opinions that have been our opinion for many, many years, and we haven't thought anew about the subject. And I'm going to ask you to do that today, especially if you're a new listener. Now, I know, because I grew up in the 80s. I'm 42, so in the 80s I was in my teens, and it was the Just Say No era. And I actually ended up having a professor and a good friend, tennis partner, named Richard Evans. And he is one of the people, if not the person, who came up with the Just Say No program for the Reagan administration. Great guy. And I know that one of the things we have been indoctrinated by the school system and our parents and everyone else is just say no to drugs. Drugs are anything that are not alcohol, right? Okay, I'll say no to everything else. But I can still drink, right? Yeah, just say no to drugs. What is a drug exactly? Well, it is a non-alcohol that provides many of the same benefits that alcohol does, except it may not be legal. Oh, well, if it's not legal, then it's bad. Actually, maybe not. Most studies and law enforcement officers and users will tell you that marijuana is far less troubling for society than alcohol. Fact. Well, I don't know if it's fact, but it's a pretty widely held opinion. Now, I don't smoke pot, and I know a number of people when I offer my opinions on it, oh, he just pothead. My opinions are not based in defending what I personally choose to do. I don't believe that the government, for instance, ought to be telling people that they have to wear a helmet if they ride a motorcycle. I don't ride motorcycles because I like living. But a lot of people, a lot of my friends, enjoy riding motorcycles, particularly Harleys, because crotch rockets are for kids and punks. And that's their business. And whether they wear a helmet is their business, not mine. It's not the government's role to tell them what to do. So I'm not defending my right to wear a helmet. I'm defending the right of the citizen to be above the government that works for us. They're our servant. Now, to the issue of drugs and particularly marijuana. When you study the history of marijuana in this country, and again, I'm not a user. I would if it was legal, because I make no bones about the fact that I enjoy alcohol. I enjoy a cold beer. I enjoy brown water. I enjoy wine, not white wine, because that's for women. I don't do Zinfandels or rosé. My friend Charles Clark drinks rosés, and he is not allowed to drink that when we're all out in public, especially if it's just the two of us, because I got enough people talking about me. I don't need me and him out. Michael Berry was out with this fella. He's cut, had his hair done real expensive, dressed in Italian clothes, and he's drinking a rosé. Say, no, Charles, you will drink a bourbon when you're out with me. If there's other people around, then fine, but not a rosé, just two of us. That'll look bad, even if it is your restaurant. But we get back to the point. Why are you laughing, Justin? I'm not kidding. He's not allowed to drink a rosé if we're out. I can't have that. So if you chart the history of marijuana in this country, you will find that marijuana was legal in this country. What I'm about to tell you is factually correct. Marijuana was legal in this country, but marijuana was not a drug that was used widely by white Americans. Marijuana was a drug that primarily was grown and used in Central and South America. So in the 19-teens and 20s, Mexicans would come up from Mexico into New Mexico, Arizona, and Texas, and they would smoke pot. And there began to be bubbling up these complaints against these people using what was, for all intents and purposes, a cigarette of the day. Before cigarettes, it was like eating a grape or drinking a Dr. Pepper. Well, I guess both of those are now bad, but it was like drinking water. You just did it. Well, the people didn't like that these Mexicans would come into the town square and they'd lay about under the influence of marijuana, basically stoned, like a drunk. And so what they did is they went to Washington, D.C., they tried to figure out a way, we got to make this drug illegal. We got to get these Mexicans out of the town square. It was about the people smoking the marijuana and not the marijuana because nobody white was smoking it. Well, they brought in this young guy. He was a political crusader trying to make a name for himself. He was 27 years old. and he declared that marijuana would make you want to murder people and have sex with your sister and your daughter and make you a cannibal. And he just pulled out of whole cloth these crazy allegations. And he starts throwing them out there. And he starts putting it in print, and he gets Congress all fired up. Oh, my goodness, it's going to be Salem all over again. It's wild. It creates witchcraft and all sorts of nonsense, and everyone was freaked out. This marijuana was going to be the end of the world. They'd never smoked it, but it was going to kill us all. So they start the process. They get the ball rolling, and who supported his efforts but the alcohol industries? Except this was during the period of, Ramon, Prohibition. Well, it turned out that the English and Western European traditions were for alcohol. Now, depending on where you're from, would have affected what drinks. Frenchmen don't drink beer; they drink wine. And champagne. Germans drink beer. English drink beer and brown water. People from Kentucky and Tennessee make and drink the best brown water. These are just all things. And depending on where you were was the cultural, just as your food, your cuisine, your drinks would go with it. Well, this marijuana started taking off, and it was actually legal. You'd have to buy a stamp for it, which nobody could do. It was actually legal until really the 60s. I think it's 67. And then all of a sudden, the alcohol industry, using their political lobby, really pushed, and they started convincing people, and we're into the third generation of this, that marijuana was the end of the world. Well, as it turned out, people still wanted the drug. Now, you may say to yourself, well, if they still want the drug, even when it's illegal, they ought to go to jail. Do you know your grandparents probably still drank at the speakeasies during Prohibition? It's a relatively harmless drug. Now, I bring all that up to tell you this. 74 people arrested in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. 61 of them are University of Alabama students. And I'll tell you this. I bet you there's not a bad kid in the group, and now they got a criminal record? This is nonsense.
Crazy. Michael Berry, master of the honey badger.